that. Cause you got 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 that. Like you, cause you got that. Something that I need in my life. So give it to me. Cause you got that. Like you, cause you got that. Something that I need in my life. That I need. So cause you got that. Like you, cause you got that. Something that I need in my life. So give it to me. Cause you got that. Like you, cause you got that. Something that I need in my life. That I need. So cause you got that. Like you, cause you got that.
All right, welcome back, everyone. Week 5, CSRL here at Valencia. Again, this week, it is going to be just me in the booth. Jay's not able to make the broadcast this week again. So, like last week with Laguna, hopefully there's enough action to carry the broadcast. So you're not worried about just listening to me, and there's lots of great action to watch. Some of the things to look out for this week. We do have a returning driver, has not made a race for season 7, but was with us for season 6, and that is Onkenko. He is returned. He's going to be racing in Group 2. So welcome back. Excited to have you back racing with us. The other things to note for this race, Valencia, as many of you know, that's the new track that was added with the latest update. I think at this point, the majority of the guys, since it was released during the off season, it's kind of the track everyone went to race when it was released. So I think at this point, people have a decent amount of track time, but nowhere near probably what they have in a lot of the other tracks. So that might kind of explain where we see probably the most mixed of our groupings all season. I think most of the races 1 through 4 had all been pretty good about separating. The Group 1 tend to qualify ahead of the Group 2 drivers, but here you can see we've got a pretty big mix. We also, doesn't help, I think it probably skews it a little bit. We have Torres and White Cell who are serving penalties this week, so they're starting from the pits. So that, of course, probably helps skewed a lot of the mix of Group 2 and Group 1. And drivers are out on the warm-up lap. Yeah, I'll tell you, Valencia is definitely a track where if you don't quite have the rhythm of it, or the uh, the pace, I guess it kind of goes with that with a lot of tracks, but a lot of we see a pretty big discrepancy in speed here from what some of the top guys are running at this track. I think we saw, if it was the biggest, but it was definitely like one of the bigger spreads I think we've had in times, where the we had David Macedo qualify pole. His qualifying was a 130.9, so under a 131, and our 18th Paul Moore had qualified with a 134.4, and we had quite a few guys in the 133s as well, so just a pretty decent spread of time. It's going to be interesting to see if David's going to run away with this one. Casey wasn't far behind. I mean, Casey Bennett qualified 131, so he was which was 131 flat, so he was just about a tenth behind David Macedo and Eric Alvarez 131.5. So it will be interesting to see how much more pace David ends up having lap after lap. You know, the quality times aren't always a great indicator of race pace. And we're getting formed up here, ready for the start. Try to get a good view of everybody. Casey gets a good jump on David. It looks like Casey's definitely going to have David into turn 1. Going back, Wojciech. Looks like he's getting inside of Ken North. David looks like he's already made it back past Casey there. Let's go back and see. So it's going to turn 2 or 3, and yeah, David just Casey maybe a little bit wider than he was to. David holds that inside line tight, gets back through. And we see Jesse Albert and Kyle Tillman at it again. I think they've been side by side since the start. And Benora's trying to find a way through. We got both of them blocking the track. You can see Benora kind of switching behind Kyle, then getting behind Jesse, trying to figure out, hey, well, what's the car to get behind to get through. And checking back, so Torres and Whitesell have already made it to the back of the pack from starting from the pits. I think that was on Kinko that went wide. That's going to let that group get through. And Benora is, looks like Kyle went a little bit wide. That's going to let Benora in his Iron Man themed Lambo get the inside position for the next set of turns. And he's able to get in front. Oh, looks like Kyle gets hard on the brakes and pulls wide to avoid Benora. Let's ride on board with Kyle. What happens here? Yeah. So one more time. So we see Benora inside. And oh yeah, I think Benora gets unsettled. He might have to left the throttle. I think Kyle started to close in on him a little bit quick and darts off to avoid hitting him. So good heads up driving by Kyle. And plus it's always better to dodge the guy and not take that 5-second penalty either for contact. So it works out on many levels. So, oh, you know what? I cannot believe I'm welcoming the returning drivers, and I completely miss Kyle Macedo, who is returning. Has not raced with us, I think, since season 5 was the last time Kyle was racing with us. So happy to have Kyle back. He, with the update that brought back the new McLaren, which was the latest patch, it kind of made Kyle get back in the driver's seat. He was a McLaren driver for the previous few seasons. And so now I have to be careful when I say Macedo. I'll have to preface it again with Kyle or David. So welcome back, Kyle. And looking mighty fast, too. Has not lost a step. I take a couple of weeks off, and I'm way off pace. Kyle's been, I don't know how long, and he's still running in the front half. So good job with Kyle. We've got Onkinko following Moore here. This is the battle for fourth for Group 2. And Onkinko, that rear gets loose and he's going to get pulled off track. And so that gives Moore some more distance on him now. And we go to the front. Casey has held pretty close to David. We were hoping, based on the qualifying times, David might not run away with this and Casey might be able to give him a run this week. Looking that way so far. And then behind them separated, we have Moda, Alvarez, and Wojciech and Ken North, all very close with that second group of cars. And as the both Benora and Jesse go a little bit wide there. And Torres is looking for a way past Tillman. Actually, Doherty goes wide. Kyle is going to get past Doherty. And Torres is going to make it through as well. And we were only a couple laps in, and Torres has already made it up to 14th place. Whitesell not far behind. You can see Whitesell's right behind Doherty as well. So they are making moves early. And Torres is going to get by Tillman there in that inside run. He's back to the front. Bennett still glued closely to the back of David Macedo. And Benora still right on the back of Jesse as well. All these guys really, really close. For Group 2, Sean O'Brien leading Group 2. We've seen that quite a few times now. And followed by Scott Taylor in second for Group 2. He is showing 4 seconds behind O'Brien. And in third is going to be Life, who is currently running right next to Kyle. They are side by side. And it looks like Kyle's going to clear him. And Whitesell, it looks like he's just waiting for the right opportunity to get by Doherty. Doherty's pace seems to be way off this race. And yes, like Doherty touches off track, goes wide there. Whitesell holds it close. It's going to be side by side. And yeah, Whitesell's able to get in front of him before the next turn. And so that moves Whitesell up a position. So Torres and Whitesell making moves. And as that was going on, we also have Benora getting by Albert. No, wait, Albert says not yet. Trying to keep fighting off for the position. No, it looks like Benora is going to get by him there. So yes, that puts Benora in front of Jesse. So Benora into 8th place now. We have something else too. With Life and... Oh, Life spins, gets loose. And that lets White Cell by. Doherty not able to get through with White Cell. And I'm sure Life's still learning. He switched to the new McLaren, so he's running the new one. Oh, and he spins and hits the front of Doherty. And let's see it from Doherty's view. Yeah, just couldn't keep it inside enough. Maybe Doherty might have even gotten the gas where maybe if he would have stayed off, he could have let him pass in front, but or let him cross in front. But doesn't look like it caused him too much damage. See a little scrapes at the front, but nothing too bad. And that's going to put Doherty now behind Cover. And whoa, Cover, he get a little drifty there? Oh yeah, big time. That other camera didn't even do it justice. Nice catch though, able to save it. That's going to let Doherty back through. Alright, let's kick back to the front. Casey's still right behind David Macedo. Doesn't look like he's been able to pull him in close enough to try to make a move on him yet. I'm sure that would be the thing, right? Like get in front of David before David starts to run away, especially with David's consistency and speed that he has. It'll be interesting to see how the cars do with tires as we get close to the end of both, before everyone pits at about the 30-minute mark and then to the end of the race as well to see how the tires kind of hold up. I've heard some of the guys complain the tires start to go on this track, that it's pretty hard on the tires. But I would think that Casey would ideally want to get in front of David and then just try to get defensive and prevent David from running away with it. But he's holding close. I'm impressed that he hasn't let David get out of reach. I'm curious if we can see their lap times. I see they just crossed the line. So 132.1. That's the 132.0. So not quite what these guys were putting, about a second off their quali, but I don't know if they're both holding back just a smidge or just they were able to put down a much faster time in quali with the lower fuel and just maybe more aggressive setups. We'll have to keep an eye. And the battle for third place here, Moda Alvarez. Alvarez all over the back of Moda. And then right behind these, oh, actually, is that David? And no, it just looks side by side in that view. So Wojciech and Ken North. Wojciech goes really, really wide there, and he is pulling up. Looks like that gave him a drive through, and he's decided that he is going to, yeah, I guess just retire versus serve that drive through. It is a tricky track with the track limits in a couple places, especially if you're pushing hard. That turn one, you're allowed to go into the green, but you just can't get off past that green for turn one. Let's look back through the field a little bit. So O'Brien has some breathing room for Group 2. It looks like we're about 7 seconds back. He's 7 seconds ahead of Scott Taylor, who's second for Group 2. And the battle for third for Group 2, much hotter here, where you have Moore on Dunn and on Kinko, all three of them right there, as you can see on the screen. So that battle for the last podium spot. Though we're still early in the race, so anything can happen. Showing at the 14-second mark, right? Or 14-minute mark right now. And Torres continuing to work his way up. He's on the back of O'Brien, our Group 2 first place driver. So he just got past O'Brien, and that should be setting his eyes on one Jesse Albert next. We saw Jesse up there in that group of cars in front of him with Kyle Macedo, Benora, and Jesse Albert. So that is who Torres will be going after next. But he is on the attack this race. Moving. He's already halfway up the field in just 15 minutes. Impressive. White Cell, not doing too shabby himself either. Very in front of Doherty at this point, so showing 10 seconds ahead of Doherty. And he is closing in on Scott Taylor. So White Cell moving through the pack as well. Or continuing to, I should say. And at the front, man, Bennett still hanging. You gotta feel good if you're Bennett, right? You're 16 minutes into the race, you have stayed right on the back of David Macedo. I mean, I'd be feeling like, hey, I got a chance that I might win this thing. Again, it's early, but when you don't see the guy in front of you running away from you, that's got to give you hope. I mean, hell, at that point, if you can stay this close, even just pitting better than the guy. I mean, if Bennett gets into the pits, gets into his stall faster, gets down and out faster, everything, he could end up just in front of David based on that. Like he might not even ever have to line up a pass on him. He just has to keep this gap, keep it close. Looks like Unkenko, did he just get by Moore? Yeah, he did. So he passes Moore. It's like on the inside there. Didn't see, so that's fourth, third. I didn't see, did something happen to Moore, or was it just, let's see. Closes in on him there. And Moore does go wide. So, oh, and Life, I think that was the exact same spot before. So his car, the setup, whatever with that turn is giving him problems. So we saw Life spin in the background. So Onkenko up into third for Group 2. That is a good way to return for your Season 7 debut. Look at another new returning driver, Kyle Macedo. We see Jesse Albert and O'Brien shoot off really wide there. I think both of those are going to get a track limit warning. And Jesse showing his nose. It's going to keep Kyle wide. And then Jesse's able to actually set up, be in front before the next turn that would have otherwise put Kyle on the inside. Ooh, Kyle slides the rear there. It's a little bit squirrely. O'Brien closes right up on him. And you've got to figure, oh, he's going to go wide. So that's going to let O'Brien's going to be a drag race. So the next turn, O'Brien has the inside. Kyle's going to back off and just let O'Brien have that. That is good because don't want to see anything risked with O'Brien running first in Group 2. Man, O'Brien, though, the top half of the group right now. He keeps driving like this. Looking like he can move up to Group 1 for Season 8. Now up in 9th place overall, first place in Group 2, so looking good. Oh, and did Alvarez just make it through Moto? I think we just went to check on how they were doing, and I think we just missed the pass here. So Moto really wide there, and Alvarez sees the little opening, holds it close. That was nicely done. Held it tight inside, and is able to get through. Let's see if Moto tries to attack right back or not. He's starting to pull a little bit here, so he looks like he is going to take that third place spot from Moda. And let's see on White Cell, he's made it up to the back of Taylor. We were watching White Cell earlier. He had was shown, I think, 3 seconds or so behind Taylor, so he's pulled up to the back of him now. Scott is going to go a little bit wide, and I think at that point, given White Cell is in the other, is Group 1 and Scott's Group 2, I think Scott's going to just kind of let off and let him by, so not to waste any time trying to battle him. Alright, so White Cell now 6 seconds behind Tillman, so we'll have to watch and see if he can start closing that gap to Kyle Tillman. And Tillman all over the back of Kyle Macedo. And Kyle's at this point starting to get... Oh, O'Brien goes wide. That is going to let Kyle alongside. Tillman squeezes through as well. Nicely done. I think O'Brien at that point probably even just backed out, not wanting to risk anything. We'll watch this from O'Brien's viewpoint. Yeah, you can see he lets off real early. Stays really tight to the inside. He was not risking anything. Don't want to risk that first place Group 2 position. Especially at this point. Scott, I think, was showing... Let's see. Whitesell's 5 seconds behind O'Brien, and Taylor's just about 8 seconds back. So O'Brien, well, much better to just let these guys through to get caught up in an incident that allows Scott to make up some time on him. So I agree with that. All right, back to Moda. And it's, if anything, it looks like Alvarez might have started to pull away from Moda. Oh yeah, that view shows it. So after Alvarez managed to take that position, he has started to pull away. And Moda 3 seconds in front of Ken North, Mr. Reliable, always in there, man. That top 5 kind of thing. Ken always in the mix. Moda, oh, some snap oversteer. You can see it started to go. He caught it, and then it went the other direction. And, oh, Moda pulls off track just in time. And that was, looks like Onkinko off track as well. Let's see with Onkinko. Alright, he's starting to go again. He was sitting off track for a while. We'll have to... I don't know what happened to him. Casey, man, still right there. Right behind David. Last lap, 132.4. It did show that the best lap of 131.8. So he and David did get into the 131s, it looks like. But David managing to stay just out of reach. I had not seen Casey have a chance to attack yet. Yeah, and after Moda's spin, that now puts him possibly into the clutches of Kyle Macedo here. And sometimes those tires, especially after a spin like Moda had, they can get kind of gooey and hot there for a while, and it takes some time to let them kind of cool back down. You're really at a high risk for spinning out again until the temps do settle back down. So we will have to see. I think that was Cover doing a little off-roading, waiting to safely rejoin. Taking a very scenic route. There you go. There, he's able to rejoin. And Tillman now. He was behind Kyle earlier, then Kyle kind of started to pull away when he got past O'Brien. But Tillman now has him right in his sights. Some Kyle on Kyle action right now. Ooh! Oh no, there goes the rear. It didn't even look. Man, watching that, I didn't even look like it was out of control. I was not expecting that. Guess just a little bit too much trail braking or late on the brakes, the back just comes around. Oh. Man, well that will give Kyle Macedo some breathing room. And we'll check back to the front. It's like we're just going back to the same tape. It looks like we could play this on a loop. I mean, Casey is just, this gap, I don't think I've ever seen a more consistent gap between our 1 and 2 driver. These guys just have been in the same position relative to one another every time we check in with them. Oh, there you go. I was gonna say, I was like, where's Casey? That's because I was in the wrong car. Watching from the back of David's Ferrari. So Nkinko did rejoin and still going, so I'm still not sure what was happening that had him parked, but we'll watch him. Alright, we're at the 29-minute mark, so we do have the pits. Oh, Life and Benora nearly touch. But I think Benora was one of the people who did pit, I believe. So we're at the 29-minute. Shows Benora, yeah, running in like 14th place right now. So it looks like Benora had opted to pit early, or in the earlier half of the pit window. It's always fun trying to really know what the race order is once you have half the field that pitted, the other half hasn't. But we will wait it out another 10 minutes, and at that point everyone should have pitted. And there you go, Benora through Life. And that's the one thing you don't want to have happen too, right? You pit early, maybe you have open track or you have some fast-paced guys in front of you, so you don't really have anything slowing you down. You don't want to pit and then you get stuck behind a driver that might have, even just a half second less pace than you, right? It doesn't have to be much slower, but just, that half second, if you're not able to get by them, it can be very tricky. I mean, even when you are faster than another driver, it depends on where you're faster than them at on the track to whether or not you're going to be able to get by them. So you could end up, losing time by pitting too early, or, and getting stuck behind some slower traffic. So sometimes if you've got open track in front of you, you don't have any damage, the car, tires feel good, it's better to stay out on track sometimes than to try to pit early and then, fall back in the pack and have to deal with some of the drivers who were, behind you before you had pitted. Shimoda here. I was going to see if Jesse had gained on him, but it looks like Jesse was another person who opted to jump into the pits. So Jesse going to the pits as well. And Alvarez 6 seconds behind. Bennett will have to keep watching this to see if he's able to gain any ground on Bennett and see if he can make it a three-way battle for first place. I'll tell you what, I've been super impressed with Eric Alvarez since his return this season, and he, in the past he's always been a really fast driver, but there's been times, and part of it was probably driving the NSX, that he would have the pace, but sometimes would just have an incident or lose the car. Since going to this Ferrari and kind of where he is as a driver now, his experience level, he's become super consistent. And we can see he's already making time, down to 4 seconds behind. Whoa, David Macedo. Did Casey take... What? Where did I miss this? We have to go back because I can't believe I even missed this happening. Definitely went back too far, but let's see what kind of led up to this too. So what's actually funny is David Lake started to pull away. This is the biggest gap we've seen between them all race. Oh, and David! And David, who's also usually super consistent and has been in that Ferrari, had a moment there. Lucky that he was able to catch it, but that was how Casey was able to get through. So now we'll have to see, does Casey, can he, we'll have to see how much of that pace did Casey really have, or was David taking things, did David basically, was there more that he was holding back? We'll have to see. I can't think that if he did, he would have kind of held back with Casey so close to him before, but let's see how quickly David closes in on this 1.5 second lead Casey has. Man, that's what's props to Casey too. That's why it's all about just staying consistent and staying in the rhythm, because you don't even have to get around a guy. All you got to do is wait for them to make a mistake a lot of times. And I see Doherty with a drive-through, so it looks like he got hit with the track limits here as well. We've seen a couple people fall victim to that. And so David has brought it down. He's now under a second. Casey, without David in front of him, he just ran a 132.8. David 132.3. Said how much I love David's livery. He had his Expanse custom livery, which I don't even know the show that well to make a connection with the I think it's like a spaceship or whatever from the show. I just think it looks good on that Ferrari. So as someone who's not even a fan of the show, I like the livery. If you're a fan of the show, I'm sure you like it even more. I think it just looks good on that. And David now, oh, and so Casey is gonna jump into the pits. David gonna stay out, and we will have to watch and see after David pits. Where does this put them? It's also interesting. I wasn't paying attention to how far back Alvarez was from Casey either. I know we were watching, trying to see if Alvarez was closing the gap after getting in front of Moda. So after they all pit, we'll have to keep an eye on that as well. We're at the 36-minute mark, so about 4 more minutes until the pits close. And I think looks like both Dwayne and Doherty not having the best time here at Valencia. I'm guessing Kyle still hasn't pitted either. He's showing running in 4th right now. Yep, there goes Moda. Kyle's gonna be just like his brother. Wait till the end. Benora made it to the back of Ken North. Oh, so Ken, it's off track there, slides off. It's a tricky turn. We'll have to ride on board with someone up through it, but you know, you're it's it's like a right uphill, and you got to get the car rotated in order to carry a lot of speed. Otherwise, it's going to kind of throw you off track there, which is what happened to Ken. But it's a fast turn that really relies on you getting the car rotated to be able to carry a lot of speed. And there's a huge, probably one of the longer, wide open throttle portions of the track right after that. So it's just critical to try to carry as much speed through there because you're able to take advantage of it if you do. All right, 38-minute mark. Yep, there goes our race leader, David Macedo, into the pits right now. Alvarez pitting right behind him. It looked like they almost rolled to a stop close to the same. It's showing him 6.7 seconds behind David Macedo. I want to stay with these guys, so especially David, because I want to see when he exits the pits. Oh, and there's his brother. That looks like, yeah, there's Kyle coming in. So here, David exits. Is he going to exit in front or behind Casey? Yeah, see what I mean? There's Eric right there as well. Eric gained. Oh, so he's going to get in front of Casey. Eric is not, however. But I think once the times settle, maybe he's further back than it looked. Oh no, you can see there's Casey. So let's see how far back. So Casey 2 seconds behind David Macedo. Yeah, and Alvarez less than 5 seconds behind Casey. So man, and with pits now closing, let's check back on Torres. He is up to 6th place with his eyes set on Ken North. This is that right-hander right here. And you can see where you know, the ideal line takes you off where they just drove through. But you can't really get too much wider than that, or else you throw the car around too much and you're going to lose time or lose the car. But you can see if you can carry speed through that section, you're just flat out all through here, all the way down into turn 1. Sure, Ken is feeling the pressure from Torres. He's over the back. He's going to jump inside. Nice move. Holds that inside line. Nicely done. And that's going to move Torres up into 5th place. So, well done, Torres. So checking back at Group 2. O'Brien still leading Group 2. He is showing up over 20 seconds at this point. So he has 1st place for Group 2 pretty much in his clutches. He could almost have a spin out or something and still be significantly have his lead. So I'm sure he's still gonna try to take it easy and maintain that gap, but that's a pretty safe gap to have. And the only person, Whitesell close to him, but Whitesell from Group 1, so no threat to his position. If anything, I'd have to think we'll probably see if Whitesell catches him, that O'Brien will just almost let him through to avoid any kind of conflict or unnecessary risk. And Unkenko is showing retired in the pits. I am getting word that he actually... Let me see here. Yeah, it looks like he had an issue when he spun out. His glove got caught and actually injured his thumb. It looks like it got sprained due to hyperextending it. So he's actually going to be retiring for the race, and I don't know if we'll have him back this season, depending on how that thumb's doing. So sorry to hear that, man. He gets back to race with us, and suffers an injury. And Doherty, who you can see in the pits right behind him, he had a VR issue and was forced to retire as well. The VR glitched out and put his camera below the car under the track. Not that Doherty was doing too well to begin with this race. So if you had to have a hardware failure, this was the race. And Torres getting a little squirrely there. Holds on to it though. Working his way towards Benora. Man, if Torres can go back from a pit start all the way up to fourth place, I mean that's pretty sick. All right, so Eric, he's making dents. He's got it down to 3.3 seconds left at the 45-minute mark. Last lap 131.2 to Bennett's 132.2. So, I mean, he's closing in. There's time. Alvarez could improve from third to second if he keeps it up. David at this point, now he looks like he is starting to run away with it. I don't know. We talked about tires earlier and kind of by the end of the race, curious to see how some of these guys were doing with the tires. It might be a situation where Casey's tires just aren't holding up to the extent that David's or Eric's are. So this will be interesting. We'll keep an eye, see how that story plays out. Jesse Albert still trying to work his way to Kyle Macedo, and can't say enough how impressed I am with Kyle Macedo coming back. And I think the group's more competitive than ever, and he is just holding his own, coming back driving essentially a new car, right? Because I haven't driven the new McLaren, but anytime it's a new model or revised model, it's not going to drive the exact same as the previous. So essentially new car, and been a while, and he is just right there in the mix, looking like he belongs. Woo-hoo-hoo! And in classic Kyle fashion, we see Kyle catch some air, and he returns to the pit. I wonder what happened. I don't understand. Catches air, but oh, drive through. So it looks like he hit a track limits as well. He's just gonna retire. That's a shame. I mean, you still hold your head up high, man. They came back, represented the Macedo name well. I mean, hell, Kyle would have stayed with it, managed to finish in front of Jesse. I think I would have been a serious driver of the day, Group 1 contender. And Torres continuing to eke his way to Benora. Alvarez continuing to eke his way up to Casey. Odyssey Esports. I think that's the uh, team endurance team that Eric races with. Always impressed when guys can find time to keep up with multiple race obligations. Managed to stay up practicing. I think it helps. He drives the Ferrari in that other endurance team series he competes in, because he had mentioned before that that's how he got the Ferrari, was his teammates. He was invited to drive for them, and they drive the Ferrari. So that's how I think he said that was the only reason he even left driving the NSX. He would have continued to drive the NSX just like Kyle Tillman has, but he given the other team drives the Ferrari, he made sense to use the Ferrari in this league, just so he's not changing cars. Muscle memory and having that feel of the car so important. Definitely wouldn't want to drive different cars in different leagues. And he has got it down into just half a second now. And speaking of half a second, so Torres on Venora, Torres is going to get, Venora catches a little too much curb, unsettles the car, and gives Torres an easy way through. And with 20 seconds separating Alvarez and Torres, I think this is going to be about as much ground as Torres will be able to make up this race. But to go from starting in the pits all the way up to fourth, extremely impressive. Great job, Torres. We'll also have to keep an eye, because it's not like he's gotten away from Benora yet either. So. Man, Alvarez just all over the back. This is where it gets so nerve-wracking, when you're just driving at the limit and you're just right on somebody's bumper, where a single mistake, you don't want to break into them, you don't want to ruin the race, but you're trying to stay close, pressure them, or take advantage if you see a hole you can try to jump into. And if you're not close, you're going to miss taking advantage. So it's a skill to not only be fast, but to be able to drive fast very close to somebody safely. And Eric kind of shows him. See if he can scare him into anything, thinking he was going to dive bomb or something. I'll do that sometimes, where you just you jump inside just to kind of give the guy a scare. Not that you really are going to do it, but get the guy looking at his rearview mirror and throw him off. Although Casey, not going to work on him. It looks like he's staying focused. Alvarez hits the outside. Side by side. It's going to be, if he can now, okay, yeah, it's going to say it'd be hard, but if he could maintain, it goes back to the right there, but this is what we love to see, man. You get to these last minutes of the race. We're at almost the 5-minute mark or so, 6-minute mark of the race. With time remaining, but love seeing where there's still guys close and there's battles to be had right up to the end. This is the great part about having such a competitive grid. So many guys who are very close skill to one another. And I can see up ahead. Is that... I can't tell if that's the Ferrari of Scott Taylor? Yes, it is. No, that's not Scott Taylor. Who was... Was it Life? I don't know. Was I seeing things? Okay, there we go. Alvarez inside. Oh, they got by. I guess that was Kober, maybe. Side by side, so close. And that is going to let Alvarez is going to take it there. Nice job. And Moda, talking about we have a few close battles here. Moda on the back of Ken North. This is the battle for 6th place. Yeah, Moda's, he's kind of debating it, but you can see he finally did pull inside. Gonna hold the inside here. The new Porsche looks like a much better top end than the old Porsche, as he's able to get alongside of Ken North and get by. I don't think Moda's used to that. He's used to having to do his dirty work in the turns, not on the straights. Alright, so that gets Moda through for 6th. Check back. Alvarez has started to pull 32.8, 33.6. I'd have to think Casey probably having tire issues. I mean, his best 131.6, and his last lap was a 133.6. So 2 seconds off his best lap this race. Meanwhile, you have Alvarez, best of 131.2, and his last was a 131.9. So he's still able to put in times in the 131s even this late. And speaking of 131, still David Macedo as well. 131.7 last lap. So I think earlier in the Scott back there getting sideways a little. I think earlier in the race when we were looking, when it was David and Casey, I think we were seeing them put like in 132s, and we now see David doing 131. So David might have been holding back just a smidge in the beginning, making sure that everything would last. Although he's going to be pitting and getting new tires, so it's not like he had to save his tires from the first stint. But we know he likes to stay out for a long time, so on that first set, so maybe he was trying to keep him safe, make sure he could stay out for that full, almost 40 minutes, which is what he always is kind of gunning for. back here. So Torres had gotten by Benora, started to pull away. It was like 1.5 seconds in front. I just look and I see Benora has pulled back in Torres. So Torres was pulling away, but it's going the opposite way now. Benora has reeled him back in. So we have yet another close battle here in the final seconds of the race, or final minutes of the race. The guys are going for the final lap now. Benora right on the back of Torres. He definitely is within attack range. You can see he's looking inside, outside. What am I gonna? I'm gonna try to find one way around you. I wonder too if Torres, especially trying to work his way through the field, might be dealing with the same kind of tire issues Casey was. Maybe it's a Porsche thing related to the setup on the Porsche. Yeah, I mean Torres going super defensive, holding super tight. Torres is a good driver too, so it is gonna take all of Benora's skill to get around him, even if he does have the pace. Oh, Torres gets loose and bumpy through there. This is the final turn we're coming up on. Benora has the run. Benora holds the inside line, makes it through the turn. Benora is going to take it with him on the penultimate turn. Torres gets unsettled. Benora makes it through. Great job, Benora. He's got to be fist pumping right now as he goes through the finish line. There we go. That is a very esport style celebration right there. You don't see the guys in the real life wrecking the cars to celebrate. Oh man, great job. So Ken North 7th, Albert 8th with Tillman right behind him. These guys were also looked to be close at the end. It's a great job, those guys. And O'Brien dominating Group 2 performance, first place. Whitesell started from the pits, made up a number of positions this race. Good job to him as well. And Scott Taylor, second for Group 2, and Moore with third for Group 2. So great job, guys. And that is going to wrap up this week's broadcast. We'll do, that's right, before we go, still do drivers of the day. Man, I think Group 1, gonna have to give it to, oh man, so many. Oh, this is so difficult. Actually, we'll start with Group 2 then. Group 2, I will give to O'Brien. He's just, week after week, he's been super competitive. He's just been killing it as far as the um, rate, his pace and everything for Group 2. Had another dominating performance this week. He did not qualify pole for Group 2. He qualified second, but was able to do his thing, get into first for Group 2 and maintain it. So congrats to Sean. That's my driver of the day for Group 2. For Group 1, I think I'll go with. I'm going to have to go with Miguel Torres. Just is able to start from the pits and work his way all the way up to fourth. Ended up finishing fifth, but did work his way all the way up into fourth. Louis just didn't want to let him have that, but I think it was still a great performance by Miguel. Well deserved, I think, of being driver of the day for Group 1, just for making it through the field. it's not easy to get by a lot of these cars, and it looks like he was getting by safely as well. Lots of clean passes and working his way through the field. So good job, Miguel, man. Congrats. And just Benora, Alvarez, great, exciting, honorable mentions for drivers of the day for you two as well because of the exciting finishes from the both of you gaining their positions there at the end. So awesome job, exciting race. Thank you all for making this broadcast so much easier, just for giving us such an entertaining race. Hopefully we'll have Jay back next week. We'll see what happens. But otherwise, we'll see you on track. I believe we're going to be Night Race Suzuka, I'm pretty sure, is the next one. We'll take a look. Yeah, so we have next event's going to be our night race at Suzuka. So that'll be this weekend. Throw up the standings too while we're at it. So right now, leading the championship, David Macedo, Eric Alvarez second, Ken North third, Miguel Torres fourth. I did hear that David Macedo had posted that he ended up breaking his foot, or has I think broken piece of his foot. I didn't see him. I have to imagine that's going to take him out the rest of the season, but he was racing on that foot this race. I should also give him driver of the freaking day for that. So yeah, honorable congrats, David, too. I don't know how I forgot to mention that on your on the finish. But we'll have to see how that plays out the season. It would be I would be heartbroken if it does take David out, just because he's worked so hard. He was leading this season. It's really was all lining up to be his season to be crowned champion. The way things were looking. So that would be unfortunate if he's not able to continue. For Group 2, Sean leading the group, pretty dominating fashion, 138 points. Scott Taylor in solid second place, with Evan Miller in third. So these guys, congrats to our top three for so far for Group 2. And we will see you all back next week. Thanks for watching.